Hi, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Briefcase. I'm your host, Paul Blaine, and hopefully you've been following some of our amazing episodes with our amazing guests over the last couple of months of launch. In terms of following us, you can go onto LinkedIn, and we have a Behind the Briefcase page, so give it a follow as well. What you'll find is lots of clips that go on there with previous guests and future guests coming up. You can also follow us on YouTube, again, Behind the Briefcase. I think it's on Spotify and every other platform that you can imagine. So what's the purpose of Behind the Briefcase? Well, we bring in what I would class as superstars, people that have made it in life. Palvi has given me a rise there, and I'll introduce her shortly to you. But people who have actually, pushed their way to the top, be it through hard work, effort, continuous energy, and certainly relentlessness, to achieve their dreams, to achieve their ambitions. But I don't want to see the Instagram profile or the LinkedIn profile. I want to find out who those people are. So that's why it's Behind the Briefcase or the handbag or wherever else you want to name it. We're going right behind and deep diving into who this actual person is. Now, the next guest, I've known her for some time, and she's always very inspirational to me. And certainly leaves me every time I have a conversation with her feeling empowered to go on and do something different or think differently, and because she brings a different dynamic to the way in which we do things. So I am sure after today's episode, you are going to leave with a very similar mindset. So without further ado, let's get into it and welcome Palvi Dodhia. So Palvi, do you want to tell everybody who you are?
Sure. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. My name is Palvi Dodhia. I'm COO of Serene Care. So my husband Jay and I co-founded Serene Care about 10, 11 years ago. We own 4 care homes in the Midlands, specializing in residential dementia, and we also have a nursing home as well. So that's our main thing. We're quite lucky that we've had a lot of positive PR, won a couple of awards, so that's helped keep us in the people wanting to hear a little bit more about us, which has been always really, really nice.
Being very modest there, a couple of awards. You're on every speaking platform that I see nowadays, which, when we go back a little bit in time, is amazing, just in terms of that progression to...
Because you've taught me how to speak, and I'm not going to not mention this in this podcast, because when we first met, I met you when you were the superstar with Toby and Zanga and Mark, and during the pandemic when we all needed someone to just get us together and we were all scared, it was through your initiative and having Clubhouse that really helped bring us together as a sector. And I remember coming to you guys saying, I really want to contribute, but I think no one's going to listen. And I remember how much you, Toby, and everyone encouraged me. You were like, no, speak up, people will want to hear you. And it's through that. So I've always said, and every time I see Toby, I say the same thing: thank you so much for giving me that confidence when I didn't have that confidence.
But you always did. It was inside it. I think it was a little bit of imposter syndrome, because you at that time you were relatively new to the industry, I believe. So if anybody wanted to talk about your previous history, I'm sure you'd have talked no problem. But it was a confidence based on knowledge and what you believe credibility, because at that time a lot of the speakers in health and social care were Professor this or Dame this.
Well, they had massive groups, right?
Yeah.
It was a pandemic, and I had a newborn baby and I had a 4-year-old, and I didn't know where to look, and I needed a support system. But at the same time, I remember we all came together and like, how are you doing this? How are you dealing with the COVID?
Yeah.
How are you dealing with PPE shortages? And we were all just coming together saying, okay, but here's some innovative things we're doing. Let me help you, you help me, and let's get together. But I did need to speak up to say those things, and that's where you're like, talk. For the love of God, just talk. You know what you're doing.
Absolutely. People are going to hear this today in the same way as I did at that time, which seems like many months ago now, but actually it wasn't that long ago, really.
No, we were talking about social distancing yesterday, and we were just like, do you remember when we couldn't go near everyone?
Yeah,
and it was just crazy, and having to test every minute and get a vaccine. It just feels like a really long time ago.
It does. And it was a different type of stress in those days as well. But at the same token, I reflect on it quite a bit with my teams and say, whilst it was a different level of stress, it was also quite exciting times. Now, I'm not saying that because of to diminish the fact of how terrible COVID was for people. But for businesses, you were kind of left in a sink or swim mentality.
We had to learn ourselves,
Yeah.
and we had to have a level of resilience, initiative, and just work stuff out, which just meant that going forward, any sort of big crisis that hits us, we can get through anything.
Absolutely.
But I think, you know, I wish we never go through another pandemic or anything like that. However, the support network we built within the sector is just phenomenal. Everyone's now friends with each other. I saw this amazing post on LinkedIn where they're like, you know, competitors are now just drinking buddies. We're not compared to each other anymore.
Yeah.
We're just friends, and we're just talking about things. How are you doing it? Because there's enough elderly population for all of us. So it's not about competition. It's just about supporting, improving the sector together.
Well, the thing is about the sector, I love how you've taken me down this road already, Palvi. My list of questions are gone.
Sorry.
But I think the thing about the sector and what everybody needs to completely understand is we're not competitors, because the people that we want to deliver care for have a choice.
Yep.
So ultimately, they choose to either be at your service or be at someone else's service. So it's either whoever is operating the best, or it can be based on value or price. It can be based very much on location.
There's so many choices. We don't go to the same hotel. Even if we both went to Dubai tomorrow, we wouldn't be booking the same hotel. So I'm no longer thinking that if you're not picking us, that there's a problem. There'll be lots of variables for it. But the fact is, if I get to meet lots of providers on this journey, and hopefully if people can learn from me, we're all then ended up giving better services to the end user. And that's the most important thing for us.
And like you said, there is a lot of end users. You know, everybody is getting older all the time. And on that basis, the industry should continue to thrive, and those that deliver the best practices will always have a standing platform for people to choose from. So yeah, absolutely, I agree. I've always sort of like seen it as, why are we competing against each other when actually we're all trying to achieve the exact same aim? Okay, right. Well, now we've got that bit out of the way, let's find out a bit more. So Palvi, I mean, you're well known as having someone right beside you who is also adorable and phenomenal.
He
is. I do love Jay. And I always make a beeline for him when I see him, because I just know I'm going to leave with a smile on my face no matter what. Such a friendly person. He's not with us today because he's
lost his voice and he's so devastated. So you have but the good thing is you get to have me alone, then you get him alone, and then you can compare and see.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we'll find out some juicy gossip today, and then we'll expose him on his.
Yeah, don't play it, so he can't prep for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So Jay's my husband. We've been together since 18 years now. We met on a train. That's all great stories begin, but we actually both worked at Goldman Sachs together. I was in operations and he was in mergers and acquisition. Jay's originally from Nairobi and I'm from here. And when we got together, there was a whole big conversation about whether we move to Nairobi or stay here. And I didn't want to go to Kenya. I'm not from Kenya. It's not where my roots are originally. So I've been there on holiday, but Jay was like, okay, if we're going to stay in the UK, I want a business. It's always been my dream. I don't want to work for someone. And then we had to put our thinking hats together. I was like, well, he's made these massive sacrifices not to move back to Kenya for me. I'm going to do whatever we need to be successful here. So that's where it was very much like, we're going to set up a business. We're going to work together. And I was also have worked at a number of investment banks for, I think about 4 different banks, but I wasn't enjoying it. And I think a lot of my journey is inspired by what kind of leader I don't want to be. And one of the managers I had genuinely crushed myself. She was just mean and she was horrible, and she was jealous, and she was just that person that never wanted me to succeed. And I always said, if I ever become a leader, that's not what I want to be known for. I want to be known as kind and compassionate. I want people to grow. And even if you leave, I want you to have left me thinking, oh, thank you, I'm so happy I met you, but I'm going to go do something else. I don't want to leave someone broken having met me. And so that was, sometimes you learn from your nasty experiences. Absolutely. As much as you do from your positive experiences. And then we were just putting a mind together. Jay's very intelligent. He won't say it, so I'll say it for him. He went to Cambridge and he was doing private equity for a company, and he was buying care homes for them. And so he learned from that company how to buy care homes. And when we were talking about it, I was already in operations. and both of us have a really, really deep relationship with our grandparents. We just love them. So it kind of almost just came together. But due to capital restraints when we first started, your brand new providers are unknown. So we couldn't get funding at that point. So the only thing we could get was buy it ourselves with cash and refinance it once we turn it around. In between, we did have a property development company, so we did have experience on how to like refurbish and do all of the maintenance side. So we thought we were super clever. How hard can it be, right? It's fine. We're with finance and we know how to maintain stuff. The rest will be easy.
Yeah.
We're so clever, aren't we?
It's just all P&L accounts at the end of the day.
Yeah. Like, how hard can this be? It was so hard. It was so hard.
So just let me stop you for a second before we run ahead. All right.
Yeah, sure.
So both of you have got, I'd imagine, very lucrative jobs and very lucrative career paths in Goldman Sachs and other financial institutes. Jay decides, well, if he's staying in the country, he wants both of you to run a business. And of all the businesses that you could choose, you choose to come into the care industry. And whilst Jay may have sort of like the intelligence around doing mergers and acquisitions for another company in care, both of you actually have zero experience of care.
No, but I said to Jay, if we're going to have a business, and this is ours to scratch, I'm not coming in to his family business. This is us doing it ourselves. I want to make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And we had already done like a property development company and we were doing it, and it wasn't for me. It didn't feed my soul. I wanted to do something that I felt like it really has a purpose. And that's where I felt like the banking world wasn't for me. Every day when I was looking at spreadsheets and a trader shouting at me because I don't know, a decimal was in the wrong way or something, it didn't have real life consequences. And I remember thinking, this is just not for me. It's not what I'm built for. So Jay knows the sort of person I am, and he knows that I like to help people. So then that's where he said, what do you think about nurseries? Or what do you think about care homes? And I was like, oh, we have children. Do I have to put the kids in my nursery? I'll end up firing everyone. Then how am I going to actually run a nursery? Because I won't be able to think like an owner. I'll be thinking like a mother. So then I thought, okay, I can't do nursery for that reason, because as a mom, you have certain expectations. As a business owner, you have to change things. So I was like, I don't know if I'll know how to do it, split the roles. So I don't want to do nursery. But with the care homes, I felt a little bit separated. But what was really funny was on the first week, I became pregnant.
Wow.
On the first week of completion, I found out I was pregnant, and our care home's in Rugby, and we lived in London. And so halfway through, we were like going up the M1. I kept wanting my craving was Nando's. I don't know why. And it was Milton Keynes. So then Jay's like, okay, I'm really tired. I can't seem to drive more. This is getting really tired going back and forth. So we literally decided on Thursday we want to buy a house in Milton Keynes on Friday. That's how ridiculous Jay and I can be. Like, sometimes we're so risk averse, sometimes we're ridiculous. But should we just move to Milton Keynes because of Nando's? I don't think we've done it because of Nando's. It's because it makes sense. But we just decided it just made more sense for us to just reduce our commute down.
Yeah.
And Jay was very much like, if I'm going to grow, London and South East prices are really expensive for the land value. And Jay went all technical about it, saying we have to pick somewhere. And if our first point is Rugby, we're going to be around Rugby. If we start going Rugby 1 minute, Bristol another, it won't be, it won't work for us because it's so new and we're very small. We'll need to just pick an area. And Jay's expertise being property was like just the land price and the value in the Midlands is just better than
absolutely.
So we just decided Rugby. My family live in London, so we thought, okay, let's do Milton Keynes, so we can still have the family roots but still go up to the care home, and that's how we moved there. But initially, we were staying in Rugby. We were literally staying at the care home for like 18 hours a day, trying to learn everything we could, because like you said, we didn't know what we were doing and we hadn't really thought about it. We thought we knew, but we really didn't know.
I mean, the thing is as well, you were buying existing businesses. So I would imagine in the financial world, very much around, your friend is numbers. and even from Jay's perspective, it would have been about when he's doing acquisitions and mergers, it would have been very much around looking at do the figures tally up? Is the investment opportunity a good one?
So Jay, when he does it, he's this isn't me. It's very much Jay.
Yeah.
He looks at the price of the business that we're buying, and he says, if everything goes wrong, we close it, and we still make and we're not losing money because the building has the worth.
Absolutely.
So again, he's the one who does it.
No, that's the same risk. I've always said the same thing. So within my businesses, if I looked at the training company, it has to be volume because it doesn't actually have an asset, if you like. The care home or care homes will always have an asset value because of the property. So you may not be making that much money, but you're paying the mortgage off every single month.
And that's exactly what Jay said. Now, we both sat down and we thought about it logically. We said, we bought this from a corporate, and I'm not looking to like slag off any corporates. I won't know who they were, but we were like, how are they? When we walked in, the home was smelly. Yeah. And it was like radiators falling off. We're like, how hard is it? Even if you went to IKEA and bought like cupboards that were better looking and all of that would be such small investment costs and have a big outcome for the first impression of the building. So I remember when Jay walked in, he was like, but this is just minor stuff. Why are they not investing? So he started doing his calculations and he was like, it's not going to cost as much as they're doing, but they're letting this home run down and make it look shabby. Who's going to want to put their home grandma and granddad in it? Yeah. And all of these small things we can do. Now we thought, oh, it's okay. We'll just have a manager run the service. We're not registered managers, but our registered manager wasn't a nice lady, and she decided to call in sick for on the second week or something, just to show her owners how important she is. However, our deputy manager stepped in straight away, jumped in, taught me how to do a rota, taught me how to do an audit, and she's now our registered manager, and she's been there 25 years. And she is just amazing. And she
what she done is she seen an opportunity and she took it. That is exactly what business is about.
She walked into the room and she said, I've been here since I was 16. You two are new. It would be wrong for us to expect you to know what to do. Let me take it off your hands. I don't know. Like, let me try. And with it, she's been with us, and it was for 10 years. She wasn't confident enough to be the manager. And every day I said, I would not be here today if it wasn't for you. So you are that home's manager. No matter what happens, one day when you're ready, that service is yours. Because you helped me when no one else would, and I will never forget. As I always say to you, I never forget when people come through for me. Which is why I've always said to you, you taught me how to public speak. I'm always there for you because that's how my loyalties lie. You helped me even when you didn't realize how big that impact was on me.
I love that. And absolutely music to my ears, because your voice has to be heard. There's no doubt about it. And many others as well. Many others. I've always said that. I've spent a lot of time with a lot of people. I'm not saying I'm the best speaker around, but just having that confidence to open your mouth and talk and not get caught up on the fact that who's going to want to listen? Someone will. You might just inspire that one person that goes on and does something. And in my case, if that one person was you, Palvi, then a lot of people have got joy out of that, because they've got to listen to you. So that's the reason why I would never be, if you sit there and you go, I hate the sound of my own voice, I don't know whether I make sense, it doesn't matter. Your opinion counts always, and say it, voice it. But so that's a little message there. If you're someone that's sort of, oh no, I would never stand on a stage, I would never speak to people, yes you can, and there's little tools and tips that can be done to help elevate that. Right, so enough about Jay. Right.
Forget him.
Right. So I want to know, so you've taken on a turnaround, you've mentioned about the manager coming in. Now, I would imagine, and correct me if I'm completely wrong, that when you've walked in there and you've smelt the smell, seen what you've seen, calculated the numbers, that you kind of probably thought, do you know what? I could be like the fairy godmother coming in here and sprinkling my magic dust around, and everybody is automatically going to grow because they're going to see investment into this home, and they're all going to want to work as a team to push this forward to the next level that we need to get it to. Did that work? Did that happen?
No, it did to a certain extent. Everyone said, you can't just talk about improving things, you need to improve it. So that's one thing. You can't come in and make promises and say, oh, in 4 months we're going to do this. So immediately we're making a lot of changes. The big thing, as we mentioned, was the manager went off sick. So Jay and I didn't know what to do. So we got the families and the residents in a room with the staff and said, right, you tell us what you want and we'll do it. And all the small things from, oh, could you change these curtains? They've been here for 12 years. We're like, yeah, that's fine. I can change curtains. To the bigger stuff that we couldn't do straight away. We're like, right, let's sit down and make a plan. And we can prioritize it based on budgets and stuff. And they were like, well, you're really inclusive. And we were like, well, it's your home. We want this to work. We want this to be working for you. There was a lot of people that were cynical, that were a bit negative, and they didn't like us and they didn't want us. They would call it micromanaging because we were always around noticing if they were working or not working. But we managed to get away. We got rid of those stuff.
Absolutely.
It was simple as that.
I think this is the bit, and this what I really wanted to get at when I started to launch this podcast. It's why you're so brilliant for this. Because if you had just gone into it in terms of we want to throw some money into something and create this business and get the returns out of it and live a nice lifestyle with other people managing the services and we don't do much, then the care industry will naturally, especially in turnarounds, kick you out very quickly. Because you mentioned early doors, 18-hour days, spending 18 hours a day at the care home. So the care home doesn't just want your money, it wants you. Because I would say that what you found, there's some quick wins. Material, the thing is about materialistic things is you can put new carpets in, you can re-wallpaper, and it will give people that instant feel-good factor that there's investment going in. However, to change a culture within a failing setting is about consistency and staying true to your values, as you mentioned, and commitment to it. Because most people, when they've discovered a failing culture, don't believe that there's any commitment to actually propel that business forward. So if you had been in, turn it around, sell it, off I go, they'd have smelt that faster than they smelt the smell they were walking through the front door. So you would have had to probably, for the first time, if I'm right, start to really learn what people management skills are.
I thought I wanted to be a people manager. I really wanted to be, but my God, I found it so stressful. I don't want to work that shift anymore, even though I told you I want to work every weekend. I didn't really mean every weekend. I meant only the weekends I tell you I want to work too. I don't want to work with Marjorie, but I do want to work with her. And she's really rude and I don't like what she did and all the people management. But that's when I realized I don't want to be a registered manager. Mm-hmm. So again, whilst I did it, whilst we found the right managers and we got the right people in the service, I had to learn a lot about myself. I had loads and loads of ideas of the sort of person I wanted to be. But then when I put myself into it, I realized this isn't for me. And that was a really hard journey because I was like, oh, I'm going to be a great manager and everyone's going to love me. Do you know what? That's not even physically possible because no matter how much you try, some people just don't want to like you. They're not in the mindset. They're not interested. They're not treating this as a career. They're just using it as a job. And sometimes they just don't like your face. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely.
And no matter how much you try with these people, they're not going to do it. Whereas there's some people that you see them and you think, oh my God, I've really inspired someone, I've changed someone, and I've changed this person's future. But I found that I've done it long enough to know that this isn't something I can do. However, we do now have a senior management team and a centralized team because we've got 4 homes.
Yeah.
And we also did expand to create a back office in Nairobi, so that we could bring Jay's dream to Nairobi. So I can talk about that a bit later, but as we were growing, we realized we needed a lot more support. Yeah. And so with it, I don't manage the homes anymore. I manage the people that manage the homes. Because I've done so many of the jobs and Jay's done so many of the jobs, we know how long these jobs take. We know how to do them. We know how to cut corners. Yeah. Because it's not physically possible to do everything. So again, it means that we now have a really strong centralized team that are absolutely amazing, who are running the business, so I can do podcasts. It's great.
Brilliant. But the thing is, Palvi, and it's what a lot of people don't see, is they'll see the size that you are now, and they'll see all this hierarchy within the structure that works. So anybody new coming into it will be like, oh, there's Palvi off doing another podcast while we're working away. What they fail to see is when you first bought that care home, every single job was on your table. You have to do it all, and that commitment level to it is what has built the process of the second home, the third home, the fourth home going forward, because of all the things that you learned from it.
But we're
It's only when
constantly
you get to,
learning.
yeah,
We're constantly learning because
absolutely.
some things just worked in the first home that we never had to fix. They were just there, ingrained. But actually, by home 3 and 4, we're like, what? This is
Why
new.
is
This
this
is
not
new.
working?
Why is this not working? It worked the first 2 times.
Yeah,
What's happened here?
yeah.
And suddenly, you have to adjust for pandemic, the changes in the skill sets, the fact there was an overseas license, home office rules. Then they changed the rules. So we're constantly pivoting as a sector and then trying to find new ways and innovative ways to work
Hmm.
around. Do you remember like how we never had an eye and now we've got an eye? So now
Yeah,
again, we're like, oh, okay, now I need to find all that money.
yeah, absolutely,
Squeeze that budget that I didn't know
absolutely.
I, yeah. So it's
And
again,
and
it's
people still, I mean, I'm continuously banging this drum, and I was prior to the budget when they were sort of like forecasting what would happen. There is so many small providers that are in serious trouble still because of that NI increase
yeah,
and the lowering of the tax allowance. That a lot of people didn't see that, but it brought everybody into the tax system from your care. But even now, when I look at the figures for one of my services, it's literally about an extra £55,000 a year that's got to be found, because what's happened is everybody that you buy from have raised their prices as well. So
exactly. So now we've had to start doing all these extra costings, cash flow reports, income generation, and thing. And it's really bad because now we're like, where more can we cut? We don't want to cut against the residents,
mm,
activities, food, so we have to find where we have to change our timeframes for maybe investing
yeah,
on something else. And that's the thing, it's that we didn't
that's
have to.
exactly what it's done. I would agree. Absolutely. So prior to that budget, my whole mentality for the year ahead was growth. It literally, we come out of COVID, we'd had to stabilize a period of time after COVID. You had burnout that had happened within the industry, so it all became about staff well-being and nurturing and making sure they were okay. Then you had the change in CQC coming through with the single assessment framework, so you had to start to gear yourself and get ready for that. There was a big lack of inspections. We had lots of other things that were in the mix, but instantly you got yourself into a position where you were going, do you know what? I think we're ready now to move on and grow. And just as you got to thinking like that, bang, they hit you with this taxation. And
Exactly.
it's like, stop all growth. We're back to stable. We're back to
So now we're
survival.
back to stabilizing. Now we're back to surviving. It's
Yeah.
not it's not COVID, but it's the new COVID now. So we're just
Yeah.
now trying to find the new. This is the new crisis where we're just thinking so much work, so much effort. But then I think about how much positive impact we're making to the sector, and then I think, oh, but I do love what we're doing. And sometimes you get distracted by all the other noise, and you forget why we came into the sector
Yeah.
to make a meaningful difference to people. And that's it. That's what we're
But
trying to do.
one thing I've been saying to teams is what we're experiencing now is not new. Yeah, I've been in this game long enough to have gone through recessions in the past. Local authority freezing their fee rates for 6 years in a row, whilst inflation went up and up and up. Interest rates, when they used to be,
Mm.
3 times, 4 times at the height of what they are now. We've always managed to do it and come through the other end. But it does take, this is the bit where you do have to act on behalf of the business. And that's what I say to my team. My job currently is to work on the business, not in the business.
I've
And
had to really learn that. And it's
yeah,
taken me hard not to firefight every issue because I have to always say, I've delegated that task to someone. I know it's a problem today, but if I'm doing their job, who's doing my job?
right.
And it's taking so much stress from me not to, but I've learned it now. I
Yeah,
have to trust delegation. And if I can't trust the people I've delegated to, why are they there? Because they have to
yeah,
be responsible and accountable. And I've chosen those people based on certain values that they are experienced, reliable, well-trained, they're competent. So they might be panicking, but I need to not intervene. And that's the thing that I have to now go. I have to trust the team. Because if I've got a an emergency because I'm a mum, what does the care home stop because my child needs to have, needs mom around? So no. So the business now actually is healthier because it doesn't need me day to day.
Absolutely. But it's so important when you communicate that out to the team. And one thing I've always found is to be open, transparent, and honest with teams. And one of them is to say, listen, this isn't about how much money can Paul Blaine make or how much money can Palvi make, because we'd have chosen different industries if that was the case. There's no doubt
We've
about
talked about
it.
this, haven't we? Before
Yeah,
we say
we'd have done something
we've got
differently.
we could have other jobs, but
Absolutely. But it's sort of like when I look at it now, I say my job now is to make sure that you all have a job 2 years from now. And you need me more than ever to concentrate how do we collect, how do we save, how do we survive, how do we stabilize, when do we press the button for growth? And that's the whole business plan, whether it's over 2 years or 3 years. I need to keep a close eye on everything: outgoing, income, economy drives, where investment opportunities may lie, what would that investment look like, and what would the return of that be, and how quick would that happen. What I need everybody else to do is follow the model that we have for operational side, for our deliverables. Do not lose what we're about. Don't lose our values. Do not run off course. And that's the bit where you need to bring a leadership team in that are focused on that.
So we're very lucky in that there's a clear separation between me and Jay. So he is basically what you've just explained, the CEO. So we keep him away from the day to day, because if we get him involved in the day to day, we've not got anyone focusing on the money, the growth, the big stuff. But what I do, obviously, because I'm his wife and I work with him and I'm seeing him every 5 minutes, is I once a day tell him what's going on. And if it was something beyond me and I felt like it really needed Jay's input, I would obviously tell him.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he finds out after the fire's out, typically.
Absolutely.
Because I need to protect his mental health, because the last thing I want is him stressing about whatever he's stressing about, but then also taking on the care home stress. And I always wonder, and then this is not a nice thing to say, but it's the truth, is why do I have to pay the salary of people and then do their jobs? Then I just shouldn't have them. I shouldn't have to pay them and then take the same burden on. They're there to take my pressures off. So as long as I know what's happening, they're communicating, and my team are amazing. They know what they need to tell me. They know how to deal with it, and they only contact me when I really, they've tried everything, at which point I'll do the best I can.
But you'll always find, I've been spouting on about this for the past 20 plus years. The key bit is people actually fully understanding the expectations that sit behind them and being given the skills to actually be able to do or have the skills or develop the skills to do the job that's been entailed, and not have a throw everybody under the bus mentality. So I've always been of that mindset to sit down with the teams and say, right, this is our plan for the next 12 months. This is what we're after. So here's how you fit into this. Here's how you fit into this. And if we all come together on this and share this same goal, then the only direction we're going in is forward. And I see too many companies out there, or speak to too many managers during management training, who wouldn't be able to tell me what the vision of their company is. Yes, they've got the nice paper copy, but no one's actually stood there and actually let it come out of their head and say, this is what I believe we can achieve. Harder when you go bigger, because your team gets bigger, but that's where it's so important. You talk about that, what you class as your inner management circle, if you like, that you've been created, because that's who you manage now, and they manage the next layer, and then they manage the next layer. Having that open communication so people know what it is that you're focused on, where your attention is, that will naturally cascade itself down all the way to the bottom, and people have a purpose. One of the biggest things I've always talked about is, the janitor inside NASA, when asked by President Kennedy, what is your actual full-time job here? And he said, it's to put a man on the moon. That is the greatest line that could ever be said back. It wasn't to make sure the bathrooms are clean. They all shared the same objective. No matter what your role was, it was to put a man on the moon. And I would say in care, what is our purpose? What's our objective? To make sure that the person who comes to live here is cared for to the highest standard absolutely possible. That's it.
If anyone's in the industry for any other reason, I don't understand why you would pick social care. You could
Yeah.
go work anywhere else, but unless you want to make a deep difference in someone's life, just don't be in it for the wrong
Yeah.
reasons, is what I always say. Because if you really take out what the right reasons are, it feeds your soul seeing how much you
Absolutely.
can help someone and the difference you can make and I'm so proud of the team. I don't do it, they do it. I've just got an amazing team that just help people, they care, they always just make sure there's prompt discharges to make sure that people are looked after properly. It's beautiful to watch.
It is, and it's what I've always said with this industry, the motivation is in your team, and I know most businesses would say the same, but you can take your chandeliers, you can take your Laura Ashley curtains that you see up in these care homes. The asset is the team. That's the absolute asset. So if you don't look after them, if you don't support them, then your asset's going to crumble in the same way that your house will crumble if you don't maintain it. And that's the key. Don't just expect people to do something when you haven't actually made it very clear what it is that you're asking them to do. We talked a lot about your partnership and what a phenomenal partnership that is, and we'll go a bit more into that as we go along. But I want to ask you, coming into this industry, as a female, did you struggle to get respect at first, or did you automatically get it, or did people more go towards Jay?
Oh my God, I was Mrs. Dodhia for so long.
Right.
Oh my God. So my frustration was everyone would come up to me and say, "You must be so proud of your husband. He's doing so well with his care business." And I was like, "What the hell is happening here?
Yeah.
I'm there. I'm running the business. I'm with him." And then I remember someone going, and 100% Jay would always be like, "No, it's Palvi. Palvi does the operations. I do this, da, da, da," and he'll do it, and they'll go, "He's such a good husband, always giving his little wife credit." And I was like, "Oh God," he couldn't win. He was not doing it. And he would get so tense. And he's like,
Yeah.
"No, my wife is amazing. She's doing this. I can't do it without her." And stop pissing her off with these
Yeah.
comments. This isn't helping us, right? And then he's the one who encouraged me if I got my own network and stuff. And so that's why initially I joined the Social Care Innovators back once upon a time. And then I ended up being the co-chair of it with Adam Fidel. He was like, "Go have your own voice. Let people see what I see of you." And so Jay consciously chose not to be in the line because he felt my frustration. He could feel me get tense every time everyone's like, "Jay, you're doing so well." And I was like, I'm doing okay as well, not just Jay. And so I joined the Social Care Innovators and I learned to speak up and stuff. And then I was asked to be the co-chair of the People Plan for Social Care. And I wrote a report. And thank you so much. You were on the committee. So again, you've been helping me through the journey the whole time. And remember when we put that report together?
Yeah.
And suddenly I got all this attention where everyone's like, "Oh." And I remember at the event, someone's like to Jay, "Oh, you're Palvi's husband." And he was like, "Yes, I'm Palvi's husband. I am." But it was just really nice that for once, not just to be known as his wife, because we've always said, "I can't do this without him." And he will always say he can't do it without me. We very much have decided we either do it together or we're not doing it at all. That's how it is.
Absolutely. And that's the way it comes across. But when I first really got to know you, Jay was the secondary person. He was actually the quieter one. Now, it's interesting to hear that he was purposely pulling himself back, because I'd say our first 5 or 6 interactions was with you, and then Jay was introduced to it.
Yes. And he did that on purpose. He did it on purpose because he knows that naturally people go to him. And now everyone knows Jay in his own right, but they also know me in my own right.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting. Jay's never had to earn that. He was given that respect from the beginning, and he deserves it. And I'm not there to insult him for it, but at the same time, that's a society, isn't it? Everyone's so happy to look at his beautiful. I went to Cambridge. I went to Goldman Sachs. Imagine I can say he's got an amazing background, and in his own right, he is very impressive. But then that just naturally ends up being a comparison, which isn't obviously something that he liked even for me. And he's very protective of me, which is lovely. So he was like, "No, it's cool. You go do you. Once they see you for who you are." Now he's out and about and everyone knows him, but no one then says, everyone will always say to Jay, "Oh, where's Palvi, like you guys do this
Yeah.
together. It's
Yeah.
very clear. This is our thing now.
I do that now when I see him. It's Palvi here. I
Yeah.
seen him at a London event
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago. And I said, "It's Palvi here." He's like, "Would you not want to speak to me?"
And that's
Of course I do.
the funny thing is because we have kids. And,
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm with the kids, right?
Yeah.
We don't have to always be together, but it's one of those things that we've kind of got a division of. He does the financy events. I do more of the charity style ones. So I do a lot of ambassador of a lot of charities and stuff. So I go to those ones just because we need to run the business. We're so busy with the kids and the business, we can't be at everything together.
No,
so
absolutely not.
But I think people also know us as a couple
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
We've become the sector couple, which we didn't really go for that, but it's happened.
Yeah, but that's from nothing. That's from nowhere. You did become the sector couple. There's no doubt about it. But in terms of, let's go back with regard to he automatically commanded respect, and we're not taking that away from him. But actually, part of that is because he was male. Because what I found in the industry, certainly when I came into it, was all the way up to registered manager level, it is female dominated. You know, when I first started as a care worker, I would have been one of a few care workers, certainly in my area, if not the country. And when I became a registered manager, there was only a handful of male registered managers, even at that time. So registered manager level seemed to be where women could achieve up to. But you looked above that, even to ops director roles, regional managers, all the way up into the board level. Everybody that I came across was male. Now it's great because I'm seeing that break through the glass ceiling now, where females are going, no. We've earned a right to be on that board, and that right is not because they're female. It's because they bring something different. They bring something new, but also because they're the people that work the front line. They know exactly what is going on. And if you make decisions at the top level, the impact that will have at the bottom level. So I'm really proud when I see, you know, females with such experience go, no, I'm going for that position. But I think you just mentioned it before, that obviously there is a stereotype. But then you've got the fact that what makes, you know, you so incredible and other women out there that break through is that you haven't tried to become a man. And what I mean by that is you still have the children, you still care, you still nurture, you're still mom, you're still daughter, you're still wife, but you managed to find some way, miraculously, to be able to do it all, which, by the way, as a male, we're terrible at that. We can only focus on one thing.
No, but I'm very lucky because I've got Jay, right? Supportive in making sure that I get my dreams. It's not just about his dreams. And he's known ever since he met me when we were working in banking, how important it was for me to have my career, my identity, and for me to do well. However, he also knew I wanted to be a mum. So he very much will make sure that he is supportive. And I think it makes a massive difference having the right partner. It can make or break you. However, I think a lot of people are relying on that. And I didn't realize that a lot until I spoke to my female friends, some of them, and they're really struggling because their husbands also have high-end jobs, but they're expected to be the default caregiver. And I think it's that because Jay's also a wonderful father. He does, and I know it sounds like I'm just doing a Jay appreciation podcast, but he understands that it's important for me to. We found a really good juggling act where he'll take the kids so I can do my thing because it's not just about him. He knows it for me. I don't want to just be a stay-at-home mom. I do want to have my career, but at the same time, the kids are very important as well. And we're just finding that balance. And I feel that a lot of people that I speak to don't have that same level of support at home, where they're trying to do the same everything with the kids, everything at home, all the homework, all the cooking, all the cleaning, and then try and do a corporate job or having an ops director role or a C-suite job. It's very difficult. And unless you've got the right support systems, they might not be your partner. It could be family members and having all the layers around you. You need to have that. Otherwise, it's very, very hard. But you also need to be very clear. And then we've always been very clear about what I wanted in my career, what he wanted, so that we can support each other. Because what we don't want to do is him say to me at 70, well, I never got what I wanted out of this because I was too busy doing your thing. So we're always resetting our goals, going, are we still on the same right path? is this still what we want to do? We came into the sector 10 years ago, things are changing. And, you know, I can talk about some really stressful experiences we've had with that almost broke us. We're like, shall we carry on?
Yeah.
Or do we do something different now?
And that's the thing, Palvi, because there's no doubt about it. Business and certainly being owners, CEOs, co-founders, whatever it may be, the pressure it adds, you know, you can't just shut it off. It's 24/7. So you may get moments where you get a little bit of peace, but that will soon be followed by something huge. And it's one email, one phone call, and all of a sudden the whole thing's set off. So the pressures it places on a relationship, that relationship has got to be so strong and so synced and understanding of each other, because especially in the care industry, we don't get to go, oh, it's 5 o'clock, it's Friday, we're off till Monday. It's kind of like you've got to really be able to separate that time when you get the opportunity and realize there's life outside of it. But at the same token, when you both got to go knees deep, both jump in.
We've had to divide our roles on purpose, just so we don't both go into the same crisis. And when we first started, we do everything together. But as we're growing, we've got to a point that if it's regulatory or anything like that, I'll jump in. If it's like the lift just broke on a Friday night, he does it. So although I then know if something like that happens, I need to step away, deal with the kids, and he's going to be on there, no questions asked, because we both know what the implications for the residents.
Yeah.
Same thing. We were in Paris over Budapest for the summer holidays, and CQC came in. So I had to drop everything. I was on my laptop, making sure the team were okay. We know what happens, but also we've had to put the clear divide in. Otherwise, we're both fighting the same crisis, which means we're not there for the children. Yes, I could work out how to get a lift sorted, but why?
Yeah.
Let him do his job. He's got a facilities team under him and they can work it out. But I just have to be patient and respectful and understand that the residents always have to come first. And if this is going to have long-term implications on the business, it has to be dealt with. However, if the activities coordinator is asking about the budget for the event in I don't know, October, that can wait. That's not a Friday night crisis. Yeah. So I think it's that triage and trying to work out what is a crisis that means we drop everything, and what is just a BAU business thing that doesn't need to be dealt with on a Friday night, Saturday and stuff. So that's been a big thing. But the other big thing is Jay noticed the opportunity, being from Nairobi, that what if we set up an offshore site in Nairobi? So we initially started a team in India, but being from Nairobi and having the roots there, he knew the market better and stuff. And it's something that we hadn't heard anyone else do. So again, we had to start from scratch. But being born there, lived there, visiting his parents constantly there, it was something he could do very quickly. And we realized that care is 24 hours. We're very passionate about AI and systems and technology. I set up all the infrastructure. I didn't. Jay did for me, so I could work from home comfortably. And then Jay just wanted to put the same thing in and say, but what if we just did it somewhere else? You can work from Budapest, you can work from Paris, you can work from anywhere. So why can't other people work from another country? And actually, we now can do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, remote support for the care homes, which will then take the pressure off me and Jay, and actually deals with the NI issue because I'm not based in the UK, etc., etc., etc. And he's found a really innovative way to put that together. So we can afford to do this on a larger scale, so that if should we grow, we've already got the infrastructure in place.
Okay, there's an off the record chat that's going to happen following on from this podcast. I want that information.
No, that's absolutely fine, no problem.
But no, that's genius, and that's so much forward thinking. And do you know what? That's what I seen from you and from Jay very early doors when I first met you. I've always said the problem is people that have been in this industry all their life are trapped in a bubble. And in that bubble, we don't look outside of it to see how other industries do things. We're not dynamic in our thought processes. So if Florence Nightingale was doing it that way, then that's the way it should be done. When I met both of you, because when I learned your background was not care related, it was like, do you know what? There's going to be a freshness here that comes to it. There is going to be someone raising questions that goes, well, why are you doing it that way? What's the purpose? What are you getting out of that? Is that wasting your time and energy when you could be doing it something different? And that's why it's been no surprise to me to see both yourself and Jay sort of like leading the AI campaigns to get information going. It's been no surprise to me to see the people plan, of which you chaired and co-wrote, that all these things have come because you didn't know the industry, which allowed you to challenge and question, why are you doing it that way? And that change mentality, you talked about your leadership style when you first started talking, and you're absolutely right. I always say we have different forms of mentors in life, and some of them aren't always positive, but we will take what we need from that to create the version of ourselves. But yours, most definitely, and how you found yourself naturally going into turnarounds, is that actually you're a change mindset expert. You really live and breathe it without knowing it. That change culture is your absolute asset, and that was noticeable right in the early days. It's been noticeable watching your progression, and it's noticeable with what you are doing now, because you don't sit there and just do it that way because it's always been done that way. You want to challenge it all the time.
But that's what we like to do, because for us, we just want to do. I think we always make this joke. We're so lazy. I know it doesn't sound it. We're trying to find the easiest way to do things, and we sometimes find that when we're looking in social care, that is a really clunky, difficult way that it's being done. And when you're a busy mom and you're balancing two children and all of this, I'm like, right, why is it taking so long to do A, B, C? There has to be a better way of doing it.
Yeah.
Let's just cut through all of this unnecessary drama and let's get to this point. But through it, we have made mistakes, we've done it wrong at times, and we've had to scale it back and change things. But that's the learning, that's the growth. It's how do we improve, how do we take the lessons forward so that next time we do better.
Absolutely. Now, Palvi, it's not always been glossy.
Oh God, no.
And definitely not as sparkly as the outfit you're wearing today.
I wanted to look nice for you.
But I mean, I remember us having a conversation, and you were getting absolutely bombarded by the regulator at that time. You were struggling to see a way out of it. And in fact, probably the lowest I've ever personally seen you, because you're such a height of energy. You're a ball of energy all the time. I don't sort of like need you to go into all the details around that, but that was a challenging time in your life. So how did you manage to get through that? I mean, you're juggling all these different things.
So we had one of our turnarounds turn around the wrong way. Basically, had a lot of regulatory pressure, multiple inspections whilst trying to juggle the other businesses and the children and stuff. A lot of it was down to having the wrong managers in the service, having a lot of bad intel. The problem with turnarounds is they're not your staff to begin with. You don't know the team, you don't know the culture, you don't know how it is. And, people can say what they want, report it. And also CQC were going through their own changes. So again, the way they triangulate things isn't always correct, or is correct. I don't know. I mean, you can always say, I'm not here to blame anyone. I'm not here to say, oh, it wasn't our fault. Nothing like that. I think every situation you learn from it. It was a really, really hard time for us, but I'm so delighted to know that all my homes are good now. Mm-hmm. Today, the inspections we've had, they're all containing our own good from every single thing. And I remember saying to Jay, we were in Kenya, and CQC came in, there was 4 people in at night, and then in the following morning, they're not coming for a good reason if they turn up at night and then following morning. And I remember saying to Jay, I said, look, if they want to close us, if we decide amongst ourselves we want to close this business, that's fine. We will decide that because it's the right financial decision, it's the right business decision, but no one's stealing my business and taking away my hard work. So we will sort this out. We're going to get out of it. And at the end of it, once I get my good report, if you want to close the care homes, close it. But until then, I'm fighting every single day. And he was like, yeah, but this is a lot of work. And I was like, I don't care. This is mine. It's my business. It's my money. It's mine to lose. And I'm willing to lose because I will regret not fighting for my business. I will never regret the fact that if they take it now, they give me a notice and I'm not disputing it, we can close it and it'll be fine. But I will always live with that regret. However, we've gone through lots and lots of iterations. We've got such an amazing relationship with the same inspector. And, she's apologized to me for the way she treated me over the times. We've got a fantastic report now. And again, they agreed. They never triangulated the information and stuff. However, what that did make me realize was I have to trust myself. I can't let the world around me be my source of validation. And that was a really, really big thing that someone said to me. Just, they said it so casually. They said, you're letting a rating of inadequate be a reflection on you as a person and not the asset or the building. And I remember turning around going, oh my God, I am doing that. They were like, they're not talking about you as a person, but you're acting like they're talking about you as a person. I was like, yes, but I'm the leader of the service and stuff. And then someone stepped back and they said, do you actually think it's inadequate? And I said, no, it's not. And that's the thing. If it was inadequate, I'm closing it myself. It's not inadequate. I'm being pressurized. There's lots of issues going on here. There's a lot of things here, but it's not. If anything was going wrong truly on my watch, we would be closing ourselves. We're not. We just got lots of transitions happening at CQC, lots of things happening that's working against us, lots of red tape and stuff. But no, it's not. And that's it. I had to learn to believe in myself. I had to learn to not let these labels mean anything. The same as the good ratings as well. Those are just a snapshot on that day.
Absolutely.
The inadequate is a snapshot on that day. The RIs are the snapshots. The outstanding are snapshots on those days. And that's what's made me humble. Whatever that happened on that day for that period is not forever. Nothing is permanent. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, it's not permanent. So just enjoy the good moments, forget about the bad moments, and learn from it. And let's just carry on. But ultimately, do I want to be in the sector? Yes. Have I learned from those really difficult periods? Absolutely, yes. And from it, I've taken away how to improve the structure, the process, the governance of my services, so they're better than they ever were before. So that's amazing. I've learned from a bad experience and made it stronger. So if I choose to grow, we can grow because we put all of these processes in. Through it, I've learned that I needed an outlet outside of being a care home provider. I think at some point I was like, and I spoke to you, I was like, can I do this? Am I good enough? And but then I became an advisor and I got hired to be an advisor because people still wanted to hear from me. And through it, I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. So I've started doing advisory outside of the care providing. And it's really nice because I suddenly realized I do know what I'm doing. I just had a bad experience, which made me question myself. But there are people that can do with the benefit of my 12 years, the lots of inspections that went wrong, what went right, so that I can stop other people going through what I went through.
That is exactly why I started delivering teaching. Exactly that reason. It was not because I had this desire to want to become a teacher, because I hated school. You know, your grades compared to my grades, Palvi, will look very differently. So to go back and do a teaching degree, a lot of people looked at me and went, why would you want to do that? But ultimately, it was because I wanted to step into classrooms and teach carers, one, how to actually move your way up through systems, but two, every failure I'd ever had in my career, and put it out there and say and convince them to stop doing it a certain way and to try it a different way. And all of a sudden, people started to want to listen. So in the end, I must have taught tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people.
Well, we've had you in our homes and your training has always been outstanding. And that's the thing. So I think we're very similar. And that's why we've always had that close friendship, is because we both don't just want to hog the knowledge. We want to share it. And that's what happened in the Health and Safety Showcase Clubhouse. You wanted everyone to just openly go, we're not just going to talk about the pretty glossy side. Let's all talk about what's going wrong, how we can learn, because if it goes wrong with you, it could go wrong with me, and then you will need someone to talk to in your darkest days, and hopefully you can know when to reach out to me. And we've had that last year. How many times did I reach out to you going, Paul, I don't know what to do here. Have I thought of anything? And even you're like, no, there's nothing more. There is nothing more. You've thought of everything. So again, but it's that network that's really got me through this period. And I think that, again, if I can be that network for other people, that's good as well.
And that's the bit that has more value than money ever will. The amount of people that I've helped that have actually, it's been of no financial benefit to me whatsoever, but I've seen their businesses grow as a result. And if I reached out to them on telephone and said, I need you, they'd immediately be in the car driving towards me at 100 miles per hour to help me in any way, shape, or form, because I never went into it and said, oh, this is about me making money from you. They know they got a lot more than that. And genuinely, why do I do that? Because that's the thing that actually makes me the proudest person that I can be of myself. The financial side doesn't make me proud. At no point ever do I walk into a room and say, oh, my turnover is such an amount of money and we're growing by this percentage year on year on year. And by such an age, I'm going to be worth this amount of money. Because I still look at it and go, it's someday I'll be working as a care assistant again on the floor because somebody will have popped my balloon and said your game of Monopoly is finished. And that's the way I look at it. I'm on a ride. I'm still the care assistant that went through the trenches and rose his way up. So I never look at myself as anything else.
You've got so many businesses and you've pivoted it all from being a care assistant. You found the opportunities and the angles, like from the competency, the care competency and everything. It's just amazing. I love it. I love how you always seem to find the angle in that there is a gap in this market and I'm going to find it. It was with the training company, it was a competency software, which again is just amazing. And we've used it and we think it's just excellent that you keep finding it. But because you're so hands-on in care, you know what we need. And that was the thing. And I remember speaking to CQC when they were questioning my competency. So I used your software. And they were so happy with your software. And I remember calling you going, thank God you did a demo and taught me how to use it. And thank you for letting me use that in my service. But again, it's being innovative, finding these right systems out there. So for people like me who are just providers, we don't have that tech background, it's really good that we've got these resources that we can come out.
And the key bit there is the reason why you will do so well in advisory and want to be used in the same way that I find that is because we're real. We're talking from real life experience. There's nothing textbook in this. Yeah. The shit that happened and we had to deal with it every time. You couldn't hide from it. You couldn't run from it. You had to hit it head on. And you know what worked and what didn't, but you also know that ultimately if you sort of like push always back with the real values that you have, like, we will sort this, we will fix this. You know, I go into so many meetings and go, even to trainers, and say, listen, it doesn't bother me how many hours you travel to do that course. You get Saturday and Sunday off. All those people that were in your classroom are working Christmas Day, Boxing Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, every bank holiday, the Easter break, Saturday, Sunday. They're not interested in how many hours it took you to get there or what the traffic was like. If you've got them for 6 hours, give them 6 hours of everything you can to help them go out and do their job better. That's it.
I agree, because I think, and this has always been the biggest thing, and that's why I wanted to be the coach of the people plan and everything, was why don't people see how amazing work our carers are doing, our seniors are doing, our managers? They're exceptionally phenomenal, and I can't do what they do. You were a carer at one point who worked yourself up. I accidentally bought a care home thinking it would be easy, and I got stuck in the position. I was like, well, this is really hard. But that's the thing. I see how hard they work. And this is and it's so important to me to say, I will not judge people based on their education, their qualifications, anything. For me, it is like the values, the kindness, the compassion, the street smarts, knowing how to look after people. And that's such a privilege. And something you either have it or you don't.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have it, but our carers in our homes really have it.
Absolutely, they do. Absolutely. Right. I know you've got meetings and you've given me precious amount of your time. So I better wire through some of the stuff that I'm supposed to do.
Palvi, do the ones you're meant to ask.
I'll do the ones I'm meant to do. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So in terms of the future, so you're on 4 care homes. You've opened up this business in Nairobi. Where does it go from here? Are you content there, or are we still growing?
I'm always content, but we know what Jay's like, right? So he's always looking for growth. So for me, I'm focusing on the advisory side whilst we're just getting to the point. Jay's focusing on the growth of the care home group, so he would like to do more acquisitions. At the same time, we highlighted to him there's a massive opportunity in the M&A side. So Absolutely. Jay set up his own M&A advisory as well. So he's got a few clients as well that he's helping. So I think we just don't know what it's like to chill. So the M&A advisory is really, really good because he buys them for ourselves. At the same time, he knows why you shouldn't buy them, especially when it's turnaround and stuff. He's been excellent. So he's been guiding lots of clients on, especially international ones on
Yeah.
how to buy, what to buy, not to buy, and all of those things. So that's where his passion is right now. Not right now, just it's his passion. It's not a limited passion. I'm really enjoying working with lots of CEOs about their care homes and growing that. And that's the advisory. But I'm sure Jay will definitely have things that he'll spring on me and go, oh, I made an offer. It got accepted. We're buying a new home. I'm just mentally prepared for the husband I know I've married.
You know he's invited me for dinner, don't you, at some point?
Yeah.
Yeah, he
And I'm
said. I
so
said to
happy.
him when I was
I'm
last
so
talking.
happy.
When I was last talking to him, I said, I'm literally. I have a domiciliary service in Watford,
Oh
and I
yes,
was
he
sort of like
told me
saying,
about this,
I
and
was
he said
saying
we're
I'm up
buying
there
a
all the
dom.
time. And
He
he's
said
gone,
we're buying a dom care
yeah,
business with
he
Paul. I was
did.
like, of
He did.
course we are.
He did. Okay, right. So that's the future. So it's going to be continue, go, go, go. I think a lot of people will be reaching out to you for advisory because you bring so much to the table, not just from an operational side, but your financial knowledge as well, in relation to that. If people want to reach out to you, Palvi, well, I know you're on
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Is that the best way?
LinkedIn's the best way because I love my LinkedIn. So it's just
Yeah.
Palvi Dodhia on LinkedIn. It would be great.
Honestly, I would say for a lot of people, and particularly what I would find, and what I've actually found, and I think you'd be amazing at this.
Oh,
Obviously, you're advising sort of like a lot of corporate companies, etc., like that. But there's a lot of startup companies in the dom care market, and particularly mothers who are
so
deciding to push themselves
no,
into it.
there's this weird angle that I didn't discover, but a lot of females have reached out to me
Yeah,
saying, I want to set up a business. And that's something that I think is really something I'd love to do. So if there is
empowering.
people,
Yeah,
yeah, and I would love to help other mothers do this because it is hard. And
yeah,
I always say like your network is your net worth. And I think it's so important that if you've got a good support system, anything's possible.
yeah. There's someone I'm going to definitely put in touch with you because I think they would
Should I
benefit
just get
massively.
business from this podcast? Because Jay will be so proud
Yes,
when I
yeah,
tell him
absolutely,
this.
absolutely. But he has to buy a dom care company for it.
Yeah, that's
But
fine. I'm sure he'll be so excited I did this. So many things will happen, and I'll
no,
say, look,
there is
you don't
definitely
need to do
somebody I want to push
M&A.
your way.
I'm on it, Jay. I'm buying dom care businesses.
Um, right, Palvi, what would you be saying to young up and coming females? I mean, you just
Yeah.
mentioned about advising them, but who sort of like are looking at it and going, how do I break into this world? Maybe similar to yourself at the beginning, imposter syndrome. Have I got credentials? Will people want to listen to me, etc., like that? I mean, you can look at this from a finance point of view as well. But if you are a young female coming up in this industry and you do want to actually start your own business, what's your advice to them?
So I've had lots of people come to me, and actually I put people off, not on purpose, but I've
Hmm.
told them black and white, this is what it is. You do not get your weekends off. You do not get your evenings off. This is just the life it is. This is the pressure you live under. A lot of people aren't ready for it because of certain stages of their lifestyle and stuff, and that's fine. But I rather someone be prepared upfront, knowing how
Absolutely.
challenging the industry is. However, should you be aware of it, for example, if you've already worked in it or you've got exposure to it and you know exactly what you are, then come in. The place needs new voices.
Yeah.
We don't, even I don't want to be the only female, or I'm not saying I'm the only female, but one of the few females in the industry that's always talking. We need more voices. We need more people. But also, getting people from different industries is amazing because you get a new perspective. And again, I love learning from as many different sources to see what I can apply back in our company. So the more new people, new voices as well, go to all these exhibitions and care shows and all of those things and start attending, meet suppliers, go to talks and keep educating yourself. And it's not about having a degree, it's just going and learning.
Yeah.
Learning and having an education are very different, and it's finding any perspective. And I remember I had this brunch with someone who wanted to hire us, and they were talking lots of numbers and lots of EBITDA. And I said, and they were like, "Oh, but I really want to learn how to do it." I was like, "Cool, go volunteer in your local nursing home. Go. Every single one of us has something in the next like couple of mile radius. Go and volunteer and do some activities." And they were like, "No, I don't want to do that." And I was like, "Well, then you're not right for the industry." I asked you to sacrifice a few hours to go into a nursing home and go get to know some residents. And if right now that has just put you off and you can't find time in your schedule to do something like that, how is this the right industry for you?
Absolutely. You're not passionate enough about it.
You're not passionate. For me, I remember going in, volunteering, doing the walkarounds and doing everything because I wanted to learn. I mean, why would you not want to be around residents? Why are you in this industry if not actually want to be around the people, the end users, to see what it's like? So for me, go and see your local care homes, try and do volunteer in them and see if once you're inside of it, if that's what you really, really, or dom care agency or whatever it is, that you're actually wanting to do. Go volunteer, find out, see if there's people in the industry that will be happy for you to do it, or just do your local one. People will say yes. Who doesn't want free volunteers in their businesses? Go check it out. If you're still loving it when you've seen it that side, go and start finding mentors within the industry. That would be the best thing I would ask. We all have mentors. You're a mentor to me. I have so many people I can leverage, and for different reasons. Learn, ask people who are in the industry and say, you've been doing this for 10 years, you've been doing this for 30 years. What do you think? Is it good? What do I know? What's good? What's bad? What's ugly? And once you've taken an educated decision, take a leap of faith. Trust yourself and do it. And then, like we talked about it, as long as you get your numbers right up front and you've hedged yourself both ways about what happens if the worst case happens, what happens in the best case, and you're still happy with that risk, it's your own basis of risk aversion, isn't it?
It is. And you know what I would just add to that is a lot of people get put off because, like, for instance, if there was somebody new to business and they were sat talking to me and I started to ask them about the finances, then they would naturally sit there and think, oh, sugar, I don't know anything about finance compared to what he knows. I'm way out of my depth here. I just want to remind everyone that we were all in that position. Every single part of it, none of us knew what the hell we were doing. But here's what we did manage to have the ability to do. Listen to the podcast, go buy the book.
But now we've got AI. What's stopping us going on to ChatGPT or Perplexity or any of those and say, what kind of financials do I need to know for me to understand a care home business? Even if we went in, we've got to a point, there's so many different ways to educate from home for free that I can't see. Maybe you don't know about it, which is why we're here on this podcast educating people on how to do it. But there's so many different ways we can learn this information. It's not how it was 10, 15 years ago, right? So now, if I don't understand something, I go on AI and I go, explain this to me like I'm a 10-year-old. And trust me, they do explain it to me like I'm a 10-year-old. And when I then try and be really cool with Jay, and he's like, you've asked AI that, you'd sound like a 10-year-old.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay, I'm going to finish this up, Palvi. I've always got to finish with this last question. Last word, the lunch list. If you had the opportunity to share a lunch with 3 individuals, past or present, who would you choose and what would you learn from them? Or what would you hope to learn from them?
Oh, that's a good one. So I listen to so many podcasts and I read a lot. So Steve Bartlett has to be on my list.
Oh, yeah, I love him.
Diary of a CEO. I'm listening to it religiously. It's what I listen to at the gym. He's amazing. He's inspiring. I learned so much stuff from him. Same as Simon Sinek. Read his book. Love it. Just love
Simon Sinek is it the why, some art of why or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah. And so like why you're doing everything. So I think those 2 have been fantastic. And then you were talking about earlier Florence Nightingale. Find out how, but it's a strong female that revolutionized how we feel about nursing, and I think that is something we could always learn from, right? And having strong female people, that's what I would love to surround myself with and learn. How do you become the innovator? How do you become the one that changes the industry and changes everything? And how do you get it so that people are still talking about you long past and you have a legacy?
Absolutely. Palvi, I knew I was going to love this, and I have, and I could stay on here for another hour and we'd still be talking because we'd never run out of things to talk about. I know a lot of people are going to get a lot from this. A lot of people out there listening to this will know Palvi or have spoken to her before, but I think we've learned so much more deeper things in the last hour. But the most important thing is to do what Palvi done originally, and that is For some of us that had been in the industry a long time, Palvi didn't know us. She reached out. That's exactly what she done. She reached out. And what you will
There was
find...
a lot of please be my friend.
Yeah, but the thing is, we get put off so much all the time by thinking, oh, I can't ask them that, or what if they say no? Most people will say yes, because most people actually like to talk about themselves. And it actually gives them a little bit of an ego when someone says, can I bend your ear for 5 minutes on something? It makes you think, oh, I must be important to this person, or they must think I know.
What? When you said I had to be on a podcast, that's definitely not the first thing I heard. I get to talk about myself for an hour.
Yourself? What? So
Me?
reach out to them. You'll be surprised how many people turn around and say, I have no problem giving you advice, because it makes them feel special. And then if they see your development, they know that they're going to get referenced so many times. So please, just if you are someone that's attending networking events and things like that, just find the courage from somewhere, even though you may be panicking, to just go and introduce yourself to someone.
But please do contact me on LinkedIn, message me or anything. If anyone needs any help, I'll be happy to help.
Love it. Love it. Okay, so you've listened to another episode of Behind the Briefcase, and guest today has been absolutely inspirational as always. So many nuggets to take away from what has been talked about, and I'm sure, like me, you've seen such a person who's committed and relentless to the cause, and I think that's the most important thing, the cause. She mentioned one of her three was Simon Sinek, the reason of why, if you like. That's the cause. Why do we do it? What gets you up in the morning? What makes you continue to do it? When the rain is pouring down, the storms are howling, what makes you open the front door and go back out there? And that's the key bit. It's the why we want to do something. And if you get the why right, you will get the results at the end of the day. There is no doubt about it. It's when we actually move away from the path and we lose track of why we were doing it in the first place that we start to falter massively. And part of that is because we lose faith in ourselves. We lose faith in what it was about. So that's why I want you to take away from this today very much. When Palvi was talking around her time when it wasn't going so good, just listen to that message again. She was not going to lose it. It was going to be in her control. Wherever the decision was going to be, it was going to be her decision. And that's the key, because that was her why. Join me next time on Behind the Briefcase, where we'll have another fantastic guest for you. We're going to bring them to you faster than you can shake a stick at. And you will get insight as always. Until next time, Palvi, thank you very much.
Thank you
And
so much.
to you, thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.